Hi, everybody. It's Bob Ost, and it's the Friday TRU Community Gathering. It's November, what is it? November 3rd? Is that right? No, November, yeah, November 3rd. November 3rd. I got a calendar here now so that I can look. This is, I think, our 178th consecutive community gathering since April 17th, 2020. Started because of COVID. COVID pushed me to learn how to be virtual. I had resisted it for years and years and years. I didn't want to know what Zoom was, but it seemed like a time when it was necessary to find ways to maintain community and maintain our sanity. So I finally embraced Zoom, and we're doing this every week. And started off, we were doing conversations just to keep the community from going crazy in isolation. But we've kind of emerged from all that. I have to say it, guys. I mean, you know I'm going to say it. We're not in quarantine, but COVID is still with us. Ask somebody who's had it 4 times, most recently the beginning of July. So do be careful, do be considerate of others, do be conscious about that and about everything. Boy, we could use a lot more consciousness in this world right now. Today we're going to talk about something that is more related to the normal world we used to know. For years and years and years, we've been proponents of the festival experience to help people develop new works. And we've always, every year, had a panel about the available festivals. And during COVID, a lot of things sort of seem to have disappeared. But what also happened during COVID was I became aware of the fact that the Fringe Festival, which used to be the New York Fringe with my friend Ellen Holy and John Clancy and all those people, I knew it closed. We were all sad about it. I've had a lot of people talk about how they miss it. I became aware of the fact that we still have a New York Fringe, which is why I call it making a reference to Santa Claus. Yes, Virginia, there is a Fringe Festival. For those of you who are wondering why it was called that. So we are very happy to have Erez Ziv and Jimmy Lovett, who are part of the Frigid Theater. Frigid, you're gonna correct me on this. Frigid Theater Company. I don't know exactly how you.
It's just Frigid New York.
It is just Frigid New York. I kept wanting to put theater in there. So Frigid New York, which is not the state of our weather. It's the state of our art. So so I'm happy to have Erez and Jimmy here to tell us a little bit about Frigid. Originally, my focus was going to be about the fact that there's a Fringe Festival. There is a viable festival for people that are looking for opportunities to develop their works. It's usually a self-producing situation. We'll find out the details from Erez and Jimmy. But it's been so helpful for so many people in our business. I know I've done festivals myself. I like to see my plays have opportunities to get in front of an audience. But I also discovered in tracking down the New York Fringe that Frigid was a lot more than the New York Fringe. And so I think we're going to have a lot to talk about today. And I'm very happy to welcome Jimmy and Erez into the room now. So guys, and let's see. To stop the camera there. And guys, welcome to TRU. Welcome to my Friday community gathering. Thank you for being here. Erez, we've sort of, I don't know, circled each other for 20 years now. Maybe 30. It's maybe 30. You know, TRU's been around for 30 years. How long has Frigid been around?
We can only claim 25.
Okay,
and so Frigid, it was horse trade for a few years before it became Frigid.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the history of that. I want to first introduce you, and I want to introduce Jimmy, so you can tell us a little bit about who you are. Jimmy, why don't you start?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jamie Lovett. My pronouns are they, them, and I am one of our resident artistic directors at Frigid New York. I've been with Frigid for 5 or 6 years, something like that. I wandered in to be a box office overhire for our Fringe Festival and then just sort of failed to wander back out again. Here I am.
He's still there. I'm working on my pronouns. As a matter of fact, we're working on our pronouns because we're actually doing a gender expansive and trans panel town hall on November 29th. So we're trying to be very conscious about it. Erez, it's your turn.
So I've been with Frigid since the beginning. It's been 25 years. The first few years as horse trade. And then Frigid was born about 15 years ago as a fringe option, a wintry fringe option for New York City. But we did it on Canadian rules. So we don't pick the shows. They get in by lottery, and the artists keep 100% of the box office.
That's different.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Frigid first, and before we go start focusing it. Frigid has several programs, but what exactly is Frigid an offshoot of horse trade? How does that work?
So first there was horse trade, and then Frigid Festival was born, which was our fringe festival. We were asked to not call it fringe, and that's why it's called Frigid. So it's close enough, but not exactly there. And it kind of sounds, people know what it is.
For 15 years, yes.
For 15 years. So and over the course of the last 15 years, Frigid has kind of assimilated all of horse trade's programming, started with just the festivals and then moved to the monthlies and the resident program, and now Frigid is everything, and horse trade is done.
Oh, no more horse trade.
Yeah.
I liked horse trade. So let me ask you, am I right in saying that you do currently use a branding that says that you're a fringe festival, which you didn't used to do?
Yeah, we only used to refer to it as a member of the Canadian Association of Fringe Festivals. Like, that's the only time the word fringe actually entered how we describe the festival.
Do you think that there's any advantage or disadvantage to not being able to use the fringe? I mean, you didn't want to lock horns with FringeNYC, but they closed in 4 years ago. How long ago was it? Do you know?
I think there was a festival in 2019.
It was a reimagined festival.
And half the festival was in our venues at that point. It's a much reduced festival at that point.
So now, are you comfortable? This is interesting conversation in and of itself, which is, the whole nature of branding and how to honor each other and not step on people's toes. So I think that it's okay for you to say Fringe Festival now. Am I right?
I think so. Last year was the first time we actually used the word fringe to describe the festival in our marketing materials. And this year we rebranded the name. We placed the festival so it works better within the international fringe context. There's fringe touring in Australia, in North America, in Europe. Putting our festival in April kind of fits that schedule better. So we definitely wanted to place it within the context of the international fringe movement.
So before we go back to fringe, let's stay with Frigid for a second and all the other things that you do. Just in terms of, since we're a producers organization and we're very much about the business of theater, how is your organization set up? What is your infrastructure like, and how does Jimmy fit into the picture? Well, Jimmy, why don't you tell me how you fit in the picture? Then he can tell you whether you're right.
Jeez. Yes, so Martha, my co-AD, and I have been in that role since January, I think. So we're still a little bit figuring out how we can best make Frigid the best version of itself. She and I both have festivals that we curate. she is also a member of one of our resident companies, because she goes onto the stage, which I don't do.
Neither do I.
Yeah, we do. So we both we rent out our spaces, and we also do co-productions with artists in our spaces. And so for me and Martha, we're more on that side of things with the more I can't think of a word that's not it's not co-producing, but with the more like teamworky kind of productions.
Well, back to you, Erez, for a second. When you first started out, were you the usual one-man band? Did you start off doing it all, or did you
No,
did you have a team?
there was a team. There's always been a team. Frigid and Horse Trade before it has always been a team effort. Yeah. When I started, it was myself and three other guys, and we built the whole thing together, like building the risers, putting the seats down, building the walls, the stages, all of it.
So what was the space that you found that you converted?
Our first space was the Red Room, which was just an empty room, and we put the risers in there, we put the tech booth in there, we added some actual theater lights instead of clip lights, and turned it into a nicer venue. And then the crane came after that downstairs. That was already a theater space.
Hey, is it okay?
But we made some improvements
for
to it.
Sunday at 11 a.m. for 5 people.
We got somebody. Okay, we're back.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, the crane came after that, very quickly after that. This was back in 97 or 98. And then that summer, actually the Fringe Festival was in both our venues and at St. Mark's, and we went to see a show at St. Mark's and met the landlord there, who was telling us how he's tired of running a theater. So
is that Theater 80?
no, that's under St. Mark's, 94 St. Mark's.
Oh, okay. I'm curious about what's happened in Theater 80. It's another conversation, though. So let me ask you this, Erez, what were you before you did this? And what was it that you brought to doing this? And what made you decide that you wanted to do this? You took a lot on you know that there's a lot on your shoulders.
I had nothing to do with theater before that. I was going to rabbinical school and driving a horse and carriage in Central Park. That was my life before this. And I think the main thing I ended up bringing is a complete lack of knowledge of how things are supposed to happen.
That's often useful.
Yeah, and it allowed us to really do things differently. We weren't even a nonprofit. Horse Trade was never a nonprofit. For the first 10, 15 years of this organization's existence, we did not get any donations, all the money we spent is money we earned. And we were quite proud of that, but
that's not easy.
A little much. It's not easy, and it means we were never going to be able to pay anybody that way, and that's that. Now everybody understands this is wrong. We realized that a little earlier and started.
Have you gotten a not-for-profit? Have you gotten
a
not-for-profit status?
Yeah, we did that. Frigid. So when we started Frigid Festival, with giving 100% of the box office to the artists, there was no way we were going to do that with earned income, because there was no earned income. So that's why we started the nonprofit, just for that festival.
So how usual is it? Well, let me go to Jimmy again. What is it that what were you doing before you found your way to the box office? A funny thing happened to you on the way to the box office. What was
I doing? I worked at Sleep No More for a while when I first moved to the city.
Wow. What did you do for Sleep No More?
I was a steward. I was a black mask in the space, basically keeping people out of the dressing rooms and telling them that, yes, those toilets are real and you may use them. You'd be surprised how much people wanted to know if the bathroom was really a bathroom. Like, yep, yeah, it is. But I
would have probably asked.
If better safe than sorry. Yeah, I was there. I worked in a bookshop briefly, but my my family is a lot of theater people, so it's quite possibly genetic at this point for me.
What is it that you love about theater? What made you decide that this is where you want to be? And what
kept
are you,
trying to
and what
leave
are
it.
what are your long-term goals?
Oh.
You may not be able to say that in front of Erez.
Yeah, no, I kept sort of trying to not be in theater, and it kept not working. Like people would always be like, when I was a kid, like, oh, you're gonna major in theater, right? And I was like, no, I'm not. Like that's what my parents do. Like, I'm not doing that shit. And then I stumbled my way into a playwriting class and went, oh crap, I'm back. And I need to switch departments. So no, it's something that's kind of always been there. It's I love the collaborative nature of it. I love like being in a rehearsal room and just watching things come together. I think I suppose, obviously all art forms are very unique, but it is, especially in New York, it is a very special and weird and brilliant thing that we have.
Well, thank you for actually nurturing artists in our city. I know that you'd have more than one program, and I know some of them are definitely happening, some of them may be happening, but in general, like can you tell me how you, this is to you, Erez, how did you decide to create different niches for people to explore their art?
Most of the festivals grew pretty organically. There was just like a lump of shows that would fit, and we can put them together.
There's a new Parliament of Owls and a lump of shows. Okay.
Yeah. And some of that is natural, like queerly, there's a time of year to do that. Gotham storytelling was more of a lump situation.
Well, I mean, you're saying that basically Gay Pride time is good for time for the Queerly Festival.
Right.
How long have you been doing the Queerly Festival?
I think last year was 7 or 8.
Yeah. Right now we just closed our Days of the Dead festival, which is only a second annual. We used to have like a Halloween-y sci-fi festival, which the last year we did that with 2001. It was October 2001 after September 11, 2001.
Well,
nobody was interested in sci-fi and horror, and we just like put it on a shelf. And Martha, our co-artistic director, brushed off the October idea, and we started doing Days of the Dead again last year. It was the second most successful first-year festival we've ever done, and this year we well over doubled sales from last year for this festival.
Sales is I'm going to ask you about that at some point, but let me ask you about submissions. How do people find you, and how do they know what to apply to? It seems like there's a multitude of opportunities. Why should somebody apply to Queerly as opposed to applying to the Fringe, the Frigid, now the Frigid Fringe? Why would they go to Estrogenius? I know that Estrogenius is on pause right now, but why would they go to Estrogenius instead of being part of the bigger festival?
Estrogenius is not on pause. It's going to be happening this late winter.
Oh, it is? Okay.
We just had a meeting about that the other day. We're not going to be as involved with it as before because we're only one venue instead of two this year. But it'll still have shows in our venue, and there'll be like other venues. It'll spread geographically a little bit this year, but it's still going to happen. And which festival to do depends on the shows. Some of our festivals don't really have applications. We've done some festivals on invite-only basis. We just create the festival, invite the people we want in it, and we're not really taking applications. But Fringe is the one time a year that we really just like fly open the doors and we'll take everything. And occasionally we take applications that we got for our Fringe Festival. They didn't make it through, but the shows look really good. We'll invite them to our more themed festivals.
Well, not made it through. It means that they just weren't randomly picked because it's a lottery.
It's just a random choice. Yeah, there's no.
How many spots do you usually plan on, and how many submissions do you get?
So it's always been 30 shows until last year, and then last year we only did 24 shows. Oddly, having shrunk the festival by 20%, it was our best year ever last year.
In terms of box office?
In terms of box office, in terms of capacity, it was just incredible. People really came out. This year, it's going to be 45 shows. We're doing 4 theaters instead of 2. Having 3 theaters instead of 2.
Was there something you need to tell me?
We're doing 15 shows in each space, and we will be putting out in the next couple of weeks another application for bring your own venues, non-traditional spaces. So we'll take 5 more shows that will happen in not theaters.
You gave that a name when you emailed me about that. What was that?
BYOV, bring your own venue.
Is that what it is? BYOV,
and you're the Canadian circuit. They call it BYOV.
You're open for submissions right now, as I recall.
The festival, the main festival submissions closed. We did our drawing on Halloween. We have the 45 shows and a bunch of people in a waiting list. But the BYOV application isn't out yet. That's going to be going out in the next week or 2.
Okay, so my thinking on that was that when I invited you to be on, we talked about the fact that at least there was an opportunity that was immediately available for people if they were interested.
Right.
I mean, it sounds like it's perfect for Peculiar Works.
We've had a conversation about that.
I would think so. Let me ask you this, Jimmy. Have you had conversations about doing a gender expansive festival, as opposed to just a queerly festival, just specifically gender expansive?
This past year, queerly it wasn't just trans, but it was heavy on that portion of the community. Just because, we had a rough year. I don't know if you heard, but it's not been the most fun time to be trans lately.
Yeah.
But with queerly, at least when I've been doing it, I've been trying to get just like kind of the broadest spectrum of queerness and just folks that I can. Just to really get, different people in, new people in, and also just to really highlight that there's not like a way to be queer. Like, it's not just, okay, great, you done it, check. Like, you can't nail it down. So,
but if I might say so, with all respect, I think that the pronouns is one of the most challenging things for a lot of people in the older generation in particular. And I think that if there were there may already be, but if we were aware of theater pieces that helped us understand the importance of pronouns, I think it would be a great thing. I would love to see that. So I'm just suggesting that you might want to look at doing a gender expansive series and encouraging people to write about it, because I think I need to read more about it too.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a thing that has been touched on in some of the pieces. See, more recently, I feel like Love Chicken hit on that some, which was just a delightful reading that we had. But my focus has really been more on like by queer artists for queer artists, and less of the sort of like
educating everybody
educational
else.
queer 101 stuff.
It's tiresome. I understand.
Yeah, which like the fact that I even can like make that distinction is such a blessing. Honestly, it's I grew up in North Carolina, and again, shit's not great there. So it's really delightful to get to be in the city, you know, right up next to sort of the East Coast neighborhood, such as it is anymore, and do that festival here.
Well, okay. I guess it's my way of letting you know that it's something that interests me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there might be other people that are interested too. So I'm looking in here. Oh, Suzanne Backer wants to remind you that it was also freezing that first winter of Frigid New York Festival. So you've got your supporters here today. And wait, and Ralph Lewis is
Doing
giving
that
us
festival.
Ralph, I haven't convinced Ralph Lewis to do our BYOV yet. Ralph, yet.
Oh, that's what the no is. Okay. And by the way, everybody, I want to remind you to please make comments and put questions into the chat. And it's actually Ross's job to find the questions and bring our attention to them. So keep him busy. Okay. So have you covered all of the different festivals that you've done?
No.
I mean,
we do a lot. We
what
can go through them chronologically quickly.
Let me ask you this, from a business point of view,
Mm-hmm.
do you just throw things out and see what works, or do you have plans, or do you have business reasons for deciding to do things that you do, or you just want to see what works, and you basically edit through what's not working and keep what is working?
I mean, business-wise, the best thing to do is to not run a theater.
There you go. Okay.
So it's
That
ends this conversation. Okay.
Right. You know, we do the festivals that we do because they're interesting and they're fun to do, and we hope that we manage to raise enough money every year to do it all, and so far it's working.
The decision to jump from, you said last year you actually had fewer, which was 24, and I think that's what you said, and you're jumping to 45 next year. What prompted that decision?
We did very well last year. The audience really has been coming back since last winter. All our festivals so far in 2023 have broken records. So I figure it's a good year to do that. We've normally only done the festival in our two venues, and that's a very controllable situation. That's been the same for many years, and this year we have to rent an outside venue, and we found two great outside venues, and we had more applications for the festival than we've ever had before. So it seems like the world is telling us this is the moment.
Good. Yeah. Good. I hope it's really successful for you. Let's talk about what the purposes of a festival is, so that people can think about that and think about why they would want to do a festival. I have my own ideas, but can I just have yours? Both of you, Jimmy and Erez. What is the purpose and the strengths and the weaknesses, the perks and the pitfalls of festivals for people? Why do you think that they should think about it?
What we like to do with our festivals is make them a community event. We have parties, we have events, we allow people to see each other's shows in the festivals on a standby basis for free. We want people to get to know each other in the festivals, so that it creates a community that supports each other, and it's been working very well in most of our festivals.
Jimmy, from your perspective, what do you think people get out of being in a festival?
I mean, the community thing is definitely really big for us. You also, you get the sort of group marketing. If you're only doing one or two performances, it can be really hard to get any kind of coverage for that. But if it's like, here's the whole festival, that's an actual, like, maybe not like a story, but you can get that written up places, and people go, oh, I like, for Days of the Dead, I like spooky things. Here's like a whole list of them I could go check out. So I think that's a big benefit. The sort of other side of that is if you are programming in multiple venues, you can be kind of, programming against yourself, which can be a little complicated.
Well, yeah, it's very competitive. It's a very competitive environment in some ways. People, for instance, the new FringeNYC used to do 200 or more shows, and that gave it a tremendous visibility to the festival. But what people didn't realize, it didn't necessarily give visibility to the individual shows. So one of the big misconceptions, I think, when people go into festivals is, oh, the festival will market my show. And the festival offers a tool for marketing the festival, but you have to market your show. Am I right so far?
Even if the festival is marketing individual shows, you should always be marketing your show. Like, there's only a limited amount that we can do. We have, a finite list of people that come to see our shows because they're our shows. If we're doing a festival, that list is stretched thinner than normal.
Well, the thing about festivals, the other thing that I think people need to remember, or it needs to be said, I think people know it on some level, is that the festival may have an audience, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's your audience. You have to actually find and create your own audience in any situation when you're producing a show. The things that festival will do for you is, I don't know what your participation fee is, but I'm pretty sure that it doesn't cover the costs of a venue. I would think that one of the things, that the greatest savings for somebody producing in a festival is that they're not responsible necessarily for renting a venue for 3 weeks.
Right.
What else?
So it's different. Fringe operates on that front very differently from our other festivals. So for like Queerly and Day of the Dead and Gotham and that group, there's not a participation fee. We do a box office split with the artists. So their upfront costs are just whatever they need to do to get their show on its feet to our doorstep. And then, we can kind of take it from there. So it gives a very good opportunity for, especially like new companies, smaller independent artists who are like, can't just drop however much it might cost to rent a venue. Just like, bring us your show. We're waiting for it. Whereas with Fringe, we do have a participation cost that covers the space, tech staff, tech rehearsal, front of house staff, access to our PR person, Emily Owens.
Oh, Emily, I love Emily.
Am I forgetting something, Erez?
It's just all the things you need for production. We cover the box office, we cover the press and marketing, we cover tech staff and front of house staff, and all the things you need. All you really have to do is show up with a show that can fit. So it saves a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of money that goes around.
Probably, yeah. I'm sure that it's going to cost them less. It's going to cost them more than a participation fee would cost them to do their show outside of your festival. May I ask you what your participation?
Sure, yeah. The participation fee is based on the venue size, and it's $1,200 for the smaller space, $1,500 for the medium space, and $1,800 for the bigger space, which is 130 seats.
And how many performances are usually?
You get 4 performances if you're local, 5 if you're coming from out of town.
Okay,
so anywhere that's not really a commute away.
So what kind of now it's random what gets in because it's a lottery.
Right.
So you're not. So if you tell people that you love this kind of show or you love that kind of show, it doesn't mean anything because they're just going to submit to you and you're going to draw a number from a barrel. Right. So, but I think Tracy asks a relevant question. Based on your experiences doing this for as many years as you've done, that 25, well, Fringe is 15, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. So, what kind of content, what kind of shows do well in your festival?
You know, that depends on the year. We always have a lot of one-person shows because the fringe circuit is full of them and they tour very easily. But it's never all our festival. There's always a couple of musicals that tend to do pretty well. There's always a couple of classics that sometimes do pretty well. Almost always there's a magic show somewhere around. We had a couple of years where there were a lot of improv shows, which was very strange for a Fringe Festival, I think, but that hasn't continued much. We usually have one or two, but not a lot.
A couple of years of hypnotism.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll ask you a current question. Did you see any themes or anything in this year's submissions? I know that you made your choices on October 31st, so it's really just a couple days ago. But have you noticed any themes? Anything that?
So one of the benefits of our Fringe Festival is that we don't curate, so we don't really know much about the shows yet when they get in. We've only picked them a couple of days ago, and we've not really had the time to dig in and see what the shows are going to be. Over the next few weeks, as the list is completed, we now, like, we did the drawing on Halloween, we invited people, and now they just have to accept their slots. Once we have everything set, then we start taking a look at the shows and divide them into, marketing bunches, and we'll know a lot more about the shows in a few weeks. But for now, we really know very little about the shows.
I used to do the marketing for Midtown International Theater Festival, so I know the lumping them together for marketing purposes. I did that.
And usually their themes do just sort of like crop up. Like last year we had like there was a little cluster of sort of religion and faith and questioning faith shows. I'm trying to get some other weird things that have cropped up. Usually there's like one or two that's like sexuality, funny sex stories. Those tend to do very well. But yeah, usually there's like these weird little clusters of accidental themes. I find it really fun to find those. Sometimes frustrating, but mostly fun.
Mostly. I'm still, I want to just basically say to the room that please, if I'm not asking something that you want to know about, let me know. I'm trying to read your minds, guys. So it'll make it easier for me if you would actually tell me what you're interested in learning from Jimmy and Erez. I do think that the marketing of these shows is an important thing to get across to people, and how important it is for people to market themselves. The other thing that I need to say, because I basically tell people this all the time. People are always asking me for advice about showcases and producing themselves, self-producing, and it's very unusual to break even or make money on a developmental step of production. Within a festival, one of the advantages that you have is because there is normally a load in, load out that's sort of like 10 minutes. You can't be tempted to spend too much money, but nevertheless, it does cost money to get a show up and in any festival and look good and professional. Do you have any advice for people who are thinking about putting a show into a festival of yours or any other, in terms of how to budget themselves? What is important? What is important, and what do you think isn't necessarily important?
In general, what I would say to people producing in the indie theater world is find a design element to invest in and do that. Make it extra sound, extra lights, extra costumes, something that is one thing that is invested in. But there's not really, with a 45-seat house or an 80-seat house, there really isn't gonna be the income to support investing in all levels of the production.
Is there a ticket price that you set? Because I know Equity has stopped telling us what we need to charge, which doesn't mean that you can charge anything. You have to really know what the going rate can be.
Right. What we've done is, since the pandemic, is we've just raised all our prices. Things that used to be 15 and 20 are now $25. We even have some $30 shows. There's somebody that wants to do, I think, a $50 show now, and that's, you know, that will sell tickets too. But what we've also done is we've made almost all our tickets available with a pay what you can option. So anybody who can't afford the ticket prices can pay less and still come see the show. There's no more financial barrier to seeing shows in our venues.
Okay, interesting. I have mixed feelings about the pay what you can. I do pay what I've been doing it for 3 years for this community gathering.
I can tell you, for us, the numbers show that about 10% of our audience uses it, and they end up paying on average 50% of the ticket price, which is more than what we get from the discount ticketing sites.
Well, my situation is that I make this known to be free for members, and then it was a suggested donation for people that are non-members. So
Yeah.
we have maybe 10% of people that pay to come to our.
Yeah, we never use the word suggested donation. That is like a hard.
Oh no, it's pay what
rule.
you can. We say pay what you can. We don't say suggested donation, but
Yeah. We
also-
have a ticket price and a sliding scale. That's how we present it. There's the ticket price, and that's the ticket price, and there's also a sliding scale.
okay.
And that's been working out very well for the artists.
Suzanne Bachner has a question, has a challenge to you. She'd like to hear the entire chronological list of amazing festivals, I guess, that you've done.
That through 1 year or through the whole history? 'Cause,
No, I'm not
I
doing
think
the
she
whole
means-
history. There's
I think she
there's
means-
a few
That's
I
on
want
you
to
there.
forget.
Okay. I think she means the whole history. I know, knowing her.
We can go through the year. We have, I think at this point, there's 7 festivals that we have in the year. We start with Days of the Dead in October. Gotham in
The return of Days of the Dead.
Return of Days of the Dead, and then Gotham in November.
So you do a festival about New York.
It's a storytelling. Sorry, it's a Gotham storytelling festival.
Oh, okay, storytelling. So what does that mean? What is the Gotham Storytelling Festival?
It's storytelling. It's just a storytelling shows. So
it's
mostly
not-
one-person shows, almost exclusively one-person shows.
Okay.
Or like
Uh,
a series of single performers, you know, a
yeah.
lineup. That's what that's called. So
A
sorry.
lineup, a series, a lineup.
It's been a long.
Okay. Yeah.
In January we do the Fire This Time Festival, which that one's been going amazingly well.
Say that again. The what?
The Fire This Time Festival. It's a Obie Award-winning African American Playwrights Festival. It's the oldest African American Playwrights Festival in New York City. We've been.
This is huge. I wish I'd known this. Yes.
It's a wonderful festival. We're doing it at Wild Project this year.
I love Wild Project. I love
it's a
that
wonderful
theater.
space. It's
Oh
a
my
wonderful
God, it's
space.
great.
Yeah.
I had a
And
show there.
Caesar, who's been the artistic director of the festival for the past few years, is actually going to be directing the shows this year. So it should be very good. And public television, WLIW, has been recording the festival for the last few years, and they're going to be doing that again this year. And they're going to be streaming last year's, but not streaming, showing on TV last year's festival in January this year. So hopefully we'll be able to use that as marketing for our festival a little bit.
Suzanne is telling me she's not a tyrant. I know that, Suzanne. I was just teasing. So
That's
when does the submission time reopen for the Fringe, or what are the let's do it sort of.
Do we
like
want to
what she
get
is.
through the festival cycle
Oh,
first?
there's more. Oh, we haven't finished yet. Okay.
oh
Oh,
no,
no.
we're only at 3. We haven't not even halfway through yet.
Okay.
Days of the
Go.
Dead, Gotham, Fire This Time.
Estrogenius in March, Fringe in April this year, Queerly
Queerly
in
in
June,
June.
and our Shakespeare Festival in the
Shakespeare.
summer. That happens in July or August.
August-ish.
So how does your staff of 53 people deal with all this?
Amazingly well. We have some of the best staff in New York City.
How heavily staffed are you? Because that's a lot of festivals. That's like you don't have. There's no breathing room. You basically are dealing with submissions and then running a festival, dealing with submissions before you finish the other festival, and they have to overlap.
We closed
They
Days
do,
of the
yeah.
Dead yesterday and opened Gotham today. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah. It's fun.
And
Oh.
as of a few minutes ago, I believe Gotham has now sold more tickets than it did all of last year. Opening night.
Well, that's very heartening for all of us because we've been very frustrated at the fact that the ticket buyers have been difficult to get back into theater. Broadway's a mess.
Broadway charges a ton of money.
Well, yeah, yeah, but I've always felt that it was indicative of how eager or how willing audiences are to come back. So you give me hope. So your audiences are coming back.
Yeah.
Masked or unmasked?
Unmasked.
We offer artists the option to request them to be masked, and occasionally people take us up on it.
Yeah.
But
I think we had one show in this last festival that actually requested masking for both performances.
yeah, I think the Neos are masking again.
The
'Cause they have-
neorealists? New York neorealistic?
Neo-futurists.
The futurists, neo-futurists.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, realistics. It's got it confused there.
Yeah, they
Um,
go out of the crane on Fridays and Saturdays.
so let's see. Ross, who else am I missing? I see there's other questions in here.
Let me see. When does the submission time reopen for next time?
For
Right, so
Fringe, I guess.
For Fringe, submissions always open on Labor Day and close on Halloween. This year we opened later than Labor Day. We opened later in September because we were still working out exactly what it was going to look like. But Halloween is when they close.
How about Estrogenius?
Estrogenius, there's a lot of inviting that happens to that festival. I think we're thinking a couple of weeks we're looking at launching the applications for that one. And that one continues to get scheduled late into the game. It's a lot of moving parts in Estrogenius.
Out of curiosity, what's the best way for people to be aware of when you are opening for submissions? Do you have a social media page that they should? Or do you have a mailing list?
We have a mailing list. We have our website that has a festivals page, and usually the festivals will have a date if they have an application process.
So the advice for the room really would be to go to the Frigid website and keep an eye out for when you open up. I mean, I was open up for True Voices reading series like since I don't know how long. It's been about 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm just hearing from people who said, "Gee, I didn't know you were open for submissions."
Yeah. Once we open for submissions, we have a little form usually that people fill out, and then we just send that out in our newsletters, social media, let people know that it's open.
Yeah, Ralph Lewis is backing me up. He's saying only 3 to 4 plays on Broadway are doing a capacity percent below what's needed to recoup Broadway. Oh, he's saying Broadway's doing fine. That's not what I read. All right, I'd like to believe you.
If Ralph says
it's not what I've read, and it's also not what my producer friends are telling me. The people that are producing these shows that are apparently making money, which is news to them. Good. I'm glad. I hope things are turning around. I really do. Ross, next up.
Yes. How are you funded? Institutional ticket submission fees, all of the above?
All in every way possible.
Yeah.
We sell children sometimes too.
Oh, yes.
Smart.
We have like
Stuff,
the
kids.
city, the state have been good to us in the last few years. That we're on their map. We've got some foundation funding, individual funding during the pandemic years was great, and we hope that continues. But my favorite way to fund the work that we're doing is ticket sales. That is the best way to fund things.
Well, except
It's
that
nice
the
to
math,
have additional funds, but
additional,
but
because
my
the math
favorite
on
way is tickets.
ticket sales in terms of math never, almost never breaks even.
Right.
Which is a hard reality that I keep trying to let people know. 'Cause I want people to do what they're doing, and I don't discourage people from self-producing, but I want them to go into it with realistic expectations. So, next up,
Yes. Someone DM'd me. They said, "I'm curious. What's the contracts you use for these?"
I think the basic question there is, can people do equity contract agreements in your festivals, or do you discourage it?
Yeah, they're welcome to do equity contracts. At that point, we can't
Agreements, not
stream the
contracts.
show, we can't record the show. So there are some limitations to that, but people are definitely allowed to do contracts.
And they're responsible for their own agreements with equity.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm trying to get away from the word contract. Contract
Frigid is no longer allowed to do showcase codes. We can't produce a showcase code anymore.
Oh, so it has to be on contract.
Yeah, equity won't allow us to do showcase codes. Like somebody producing in the festival their own show can,
Okay.
but Frigid itself can no longer produce showcase code.
Oh, you had me really terrified for a second.
Yeah.
So people can come in and they can do an equity showcase code if they want
The fire this time when we do that one, that's a contract show. It's a
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
So they're doing weekly payroll and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So just for everybody in the room, when you say contract in relation to equity, it means it's they're on payroll, weekly payroll, and there's taxes withheld and the whole thing, and it's probably also
and equity gets a bond that they get
Bond,
to keep for
yeah,
a few
the
months
bond,
as long
yeah.
as they want.
Yeah. So that's a little complicated. I'm curious what's the contracts you use. That's right, got that. Yeah, I'm in a situation right now where I think that the equity showcase code is relatively reasonable. I'm in this little festival and I've got a 15-minute play, and I'm actually doing it on an equity. The only thing about the equity showcase is that you do have to buy volunteer insurance, volunteer accident insurance. So that's going to cost me about $300. But all the other terms are fine, and it allows me to actually rehearse a decent amount with my actors.
Yeah, it's the streaming and recording prohibitions that get in our way primarily, because we have been streaming almost all of our shows, and we're selling 10 to 15% of our tickets to an audience that shows up from home.
Oh, that's good information. I didn't even know that. I would have asked that if I'd known to ask that. So no, that's terrific. I may have to talk to you off camera about this, because I'm looking at ways of doing our play reading series in January. Right now, it looks like we're going to do it virtual, but I'm looking at the future in terms of the possibility of doing live and recording it and streaming it.
Yeah, when we were doing virtual shows, like straight virtual shows in the early pandemic, very few people were actually watching them. But now that we're streaming live shows and the people on the other end can hear the audience in the stream, then that's made a big difference.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. That's incredible information. Let's see. Any other questions in here from my group here?
Not that I've seen in the chat, no.
Okay. So I guess we're winding down now then. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your festival that we haven't covered already? It's kind of since it's not adjudicated, there's absolutely no reason why somebody can't just submit, because they might be picked. How many do you get submitted for the ones that you actually wind up doing? It probably varies.
By festival, yeah, it varies by festival. We were over 100 applications for our Fringe Festival this year. It was the first time we went above 100, because it's a very small festival, fringely speaking. You know, it's one of the smaller festivals around.
Okay.
I like to keep it a boutique festival, we call it. People actually feel like there's a personal connection there. It's not this big, massive thing.
Did you know John Chatterton in the Midtown International Theater Festival? Do you remember that? Yeah, that was very much his point of view too. It's also a little bit more, it's less unwieldy. I don't know how Elena did the 200 plus shows. It seems just so exhausting.
Yes.
So the summary, oh wait, let's see what's going on here. Oh, Sherry wants to know who is running Estrogenius now. I mean,
it's Mara and Melissa Riker.
Okay, so that's it. I'm gonna wrap up now. If you can stay a little longer, people may want to actually come out of their shyness and ask you questions. So I'm just gonna say thank you, Erez, and thank you, Jimmy, for being with us today. I appreciate it very much. I should have known that there was a New York Fringe Festival, and I really didn't know what to tell people when they would ask me about it. So I want to thank everybody for being with us. I want to thank the community. I want to thank everybody out there who finds us on YouTube or in our podcasts, our podcast, all you in podcast land. We'd love to have you in the room. We'd love to have you come and be part of the conversation. And I can make that happen. All you have to do is email me. Email trunltd@aol.com, trunltd@aol.com. And I'll send you the invitation every week. It's a great group of people. It's a great community. And I think many of you out there would probably enjoy being part of the community. We would enjoy having you. We do this, pay what you can. And a lot of people pay nothing, which is fine. I do this as a community service, but we do have a company to run. So if anybody wants to support us with a donation, that's pretty easy too. Just go to trudonate.com, trudonate.com. And Ross, you can actually type that, or Jake, you can put that into the chat as well. Oh, Jay put the full URL, and I'm giving you the tiny URL. trudonate.com for you out there listening. If you want to go to that and support us, that would be great. And I hope everybody will come join us next week and in the weeks to come. I'll keep bringing in interesting people that I reach out to and find to talk about all aspects of theater. We cover everything from commercial down to fringe and non-traditional theater. We look at it all. We look at it all, and we're happy to look at it all. If you know of anybody that you think would be a great speaker for me and for us, then shoot me an email and let me know, and I'll reach out to them and invite them. I got a lot of months ahead. I've done 177 or 178 of these, and I'm not planning on stopping. That's it. Be with us again soon, I hope. Thank you, everyone.